Thank you. Continue to allow that energy from this sound flow into you, in and through you, as you settle into this sacred space. This space where you are whole, you are one. I'd invite you to use your breath now to inhale, knowing of the presence of God flowing within you, to hold it for a moment, and then exhale as you extend God's love throughout. Let's take a breath to go in. Hold and extend. I'd invite you to do that 2 times on your own, each time moving a little deeper into relaxing into the fullness of God's presence within you, always. Now may we remember who we are. We are continuously in the loving flow of God. God's presence flowing in and through us, providing the gifts, the insights that are ours to share, ours to extend, ours to accept. And hear these words. I am as God created me. And I would ask you to join me now in affirming that statement. Together, I am as God created me. Let us take this a little deeper. Together, I am as God created me. And one more time. Together, I am as God created me. This is eternal. This is who you are. Feel the fullness, the grace that is within you. And I am as God created me. What can I do but extend God's love? I would ask you to join me now in a moment of silence. I am as God created me. Bring this to the silence, and should you find your mind wandering, simply reaffirm, I am as God created me. Here is my eternal truth, my eternal nature. All the power, all the grace, all the love that is called for is here right now. And I can never lose this. You are as God created you. May you carry that with you and feel the safety and the love that is always yours. And so it is.
Special guest speaker is Reverend Bill Heller. He comes to us today from Hemet, California. Reverend Bill was ordained in Unity in 2009 and went on to lead churches in New England and Virginia from 2010 to 2017. And then he returned home to his state of California, serving for 3 years as senior minister at Unity Valley Church of Hemet. While in school and ministry, Reverend Bill worked with Reverend Paul Hasselbeck to co-author their book, Unity and A Course in Miracles, Understanding Their Common Path to Spiritual Awakening. And that was released in 2016. Prior to being accepted in Unity's ministerial religious studies, that's occasion, don't worry about it. It's fine. Prior to being accepted in Unity's ministerial religious studies, Bill facilitated the Course in Miracles study group at Unity Carlsbad in 2005 and 2006. I didn't think I was a part of them then, but it must have been good, because he's back. Presently, Reverend Bill and his wife Gloria live in Hemet and spend a good part of each week in Zoom sessions, sharing and forwarding these teachings. So today, you're going to discover the common message of Unity and A Course in Miracles, how they utilize and bring forward more joy, happiness, and the love and peace we were created to thrive in. Their shared teaching speaks to our knowing unity within all of God's creation. Discover why it's no wonder A Course in Miracles has been offered through so many Unity churches. And the other interesting part was, I always thought that A Course in Miracles was part of Unity's classes that they automatically offered, but I learned something new today. So please give a very warm Unity of Carlsbad welcome to Reverend Bill Heller. welcome me.
Thank you, Sunshine. Well, thank you, Sunshine, and hello, everyone. It's great to be here. What an honor. Let's see, we'll go on to... The title of our talk today is Our Shared Journey. We're going to get into that in a few moments. If you have difficulty hearing me, do me a favor, raise your hand. I'm used to getting help from... All right, thank you. I'll keep that in mind. Yes, it's just a joy to be here. As was just mentioned by Sunshine, whether you know it or not, I was facilitating the Course in Miracles group here in 2005 and 2006. I'd come up here on a weekly basis, and there'll be more to add, more to speak about on that later, about a little gift associated with that. But before we go there, I think there's something else I want to take a moment to look at. Like that. So here it is on Halloween. What are we doing here on Halloween? A Sunday service that has Halloween on the same day? What's that about? I can't miss that. That came up yesterday morning just as I received a gift, as I was awakening early in the morning, just recognizing this. Just imagine symbolically what Halloween represents. Not so much based on the history, but what happens on a day-to-day basis each year in Halloween. Here are a bunch of kids who are coming out. They're coming out in the dark, in the mystery. They don't have any idea what's going on, what they're going to be dealing with. But there's discomfort, there's uncertainty about it. So much so that they end up putting on costumes, saying, this is who I am at this point. So we think of them in that regard. And yet underneath them, there's that true self of who they are, still wondering about what's going to be going on. They're going to be seeing people that they haven't seen before, meeting with them. Apprehension about that? Perhaps so, most likely. But recognize this too, that when they meet them, when they greet them, what's going to happen? They're going to receive a gift. They're going to receive a treat, aren't they? This is a gift from us older folks, giving to them, extending a means of wanting to say, I want a relationship with you, if only for that moment. That's all it takes. That possibility is there. Does that sound like Unity's message? Okay? Recognize that. The relationship that we are celebrating. And let me ask you this. How many of you would like to have more experiences with children in your life these days? Huh? Yeah. Here's the opportunity. See it as that way. The kids will receive their treat and they'll go and take advantage of that. They'll celebrate it. Deep within them, though, there's a connection that's been made. A connection of maybe not known, but that connection that speaks of our eternal connection with one another and with God, for we are all of God's creation. So all the spookiness, all the mystery, all of that is shown to be nothing compared to what happens with what we keep with in terms of our relationships with one another. Let's see that and let's celebrate Halloween in that manner. And along those lines, I have a treat for all of you. Anybody know what that is?
It smells good.
It's guava. It's a guava plant. We have a guava tree in our backyard. So, over there at the table where I will be later on today, you see a green bag there. Inside that is a guava for each one of you. Trick or treat. Enjoy it. Now, recognize too that the rest of the message that I'm going to give you is part of the trick or treat as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Let's hold it that way. But take one of those I invite you to do, because the rest of them that are left over are going to the kids back in our neighborhood tonight. All right? Thank you. So we've got this story here now about unity in A Course in Miracles. I'm going to just touch on it briefly because there's so much else that I want to cover here. When I got to ministry school, I met Paul Hasselbeck, was in a metaphysics brown bag lunch with him. Jackie, you may remember some of those. And during the time we began making the connection, we realized that both of us had this burn of wanting to show the commonality between unity and A Course in Miracles. It's no accident that unity churches have offered Course in Miracles since the 1970s, because the message is one. The form is slightly different. What we didn't know is that Paul and I both found unity in the same way. Through our involvement with Course in Miracles, we subsequently learned about unity. And it's then that we began learning the message of unity and said, yes, we've got to put together this book. So Paul, I think many of you may know of Paul Hasselbeck. He's been the director of the SEE program for a number of years at Unity. Speaks to his dedication in that regard. But anyway, so I'm going to give you an overview today of the essence of what we see within unity in A Course in Miracles. There's a lot more depth in that, just as there's a lot more depth in Unity's teachings, as you'll find. I want to start off, though, with a Cherokee story that I think that many of you may have heard already. This is a story about the Cherokee kid, a young boy, who can't help but get in trouble. He's always in trouble with some people within the tribe. The parents are at a point where they're frustrated with him. They don't know what to do with him or how to deal with him. And it's about that time that grandfather steps in. And grandfather walks with the boy, and they're talking. He's hearing about all the matters from the boy. And the grandfather gets a moment and he says, "Let me offer you, son, please. There are two wolves that are in your mind, and they are constantly fighting. One of those wolves is angry. It's fearful. It always wants to fight. It's selfish. It's worried only about himself. The other wolf is kind and caring. The other wolf wants to take care of the entire wolf pack. These two are continuously fighting within your life and within your mind." And after a few moments, the grandson comes back and he says, "Well, which one of these wolves wins?" What does the grandfather tell him? "The one you feed." Okay. We're going to come back to that in a few minutes, but I wanted to just lay the groundwork for now. You see, Unity and A Course in Miracles are both offering essentially the same message. This is a message of non-dualism, non-duality. That is, that there is no separation between us and God. There never has been. We are completely enfolded within the presence of God always. We are an extension of God in that regard. This takes a different track than what we might see in traditional Christianity, where there's an idea of there being a God out there apart from us that we need to please. But within the Unities and Course in Miracles teachings, they take it a different route, because there's no sin, there's no fear, there's no guilt. There are mistakes, there are errors that are waiting to be forgiven or waiting to be corrected. However we can do that, that is the message. So the Fillmores founded Unity based on that, knowing of this loving Creator, knowing of the positive message that Jesus was giving continuously. Not twisted as it has been in many ways, unfortunately. And they recognized that where the change that needed to occur was in our mind, in our thinking, that would bring about an opening to remember our oneness with God. 85 years later, A Course in Miracles made the scene. And here, they were offering the same message of non-duality. We are not separate from God. They took a slightly different bent. It was more on spirituality and psychology, because the reason for that is that we recognize, or within Course in Miracles, they recognize that the change in our thinking is what is called for. The change that opens our mind, that we can hear, we can know of our eternal connection. We can know of our oneness with God. And it happens through the correction in our thinking, our thought process. You might remember a couple of lines that we had from Jesus. The Father and I are one, for openers. And then subsequent to that, as you, Father, and I are one, are in me, and I am in you, may they also be in all of us. Here was his declaration of the truth of the connection that we all have, that we all share. Now, I know this is going to be redundant, but you're going to hear this, the non-duality, this message here we heard today. There is only one presence and one power in me and all the universe. God the good, omnipotent. Here is Unity's message. You hear that in virtually every Unity church each Sunday. Now the question is, do we carry that consciousness with us, that awareness throughout the day, throughout the week? There's the opportunity, because that's where the test can come into play, if you will. Fillmore, in Talks of Truth, made the statement that there is no duality in God. The Course in Miracles spoke of it in the same manner, saying, there is no time or place where God is absent. This is our truth. This is the message that we want people to see and recognize. Now, along the way within our life, there are two levels of thought systems that Unity recognizes and A Course in Miracles recognizes. Unity refers to the absolute and the relative. The absolute consciousness and the relative consciousness. The way that Unity speaks about them is the knowledge of God and our perceptions. Starting with looking at the Unity message on the relative state. Our worldly thought systems. This is the thinking that we do on our own, absent any awareness or any idea of an option available to us. We are wrapped into our thinking of our own and coming up with our ideas of living our lives. Unity refers to this as the relative truth, and is pointing out that this is constantly changing. You can see that in your life. How many things stay constant as they are, and how much changes based on a circumstance, based on different people you're with, or a mood that you're in a given day. All right? Speaks of sense consciousness as well, which is part of this relative consciousness, that says that a mental state of believing in and acting only through the senses, it judges by appearances, which are often false judgments. So here's Unity speaking about the relative state. Within A Course in Miracles, they give us this discussion of the world of perception. It's a world of time, of change, of beginnings and endings. It's based on interpretation, not on facts. It is learned rather than given, selected in its perceptual emphasis, and unstable in its functioning and inaccurate in its interpretations. All we need to look at, I know for myself, all I need to look at is my own thinking on my own. And the mysteries, the wonders, the things that don't get solved, or the results that I'm looking for that aren't coming through. This is the realm of perception, which each one of us would be doing individually, maybe collectively in a group. But still, it is not permanent. It is not eternal. It is rooted in separation. On the other side of the coin, we have what unity refers to as the absolute thoughts. The absolute, in unity, it's the divine. It's the ideas of God. It is the eternal truth that is ours, and it's in every one of us. It is in the essence of who we are as God created us. We just put things that get in the way of us truly knowing this and seeing and living from this state. It's spirit. It's the infinite, the supreme being. It's the creative mind that we share with God. The Course in Miracles speaks about that as well. Here it's referred to as the knowledge of God, the all-knowing, the eternal truth. All things that come from God are one. They come from oneness and must be received as one. This is our journey of awakening to remembering who we are and the eternal wisdom that is always available to us. Here he goes on to say, reality is changeless, and miracles but show you what you have interposed between reality and your awareness is unreal, and it does not interfere with reality at all. In effect, what that's saying is that the miracles are here to correct our thinking, to uplift our consciousness to a higher perception, a higher level of knowing who we are as God created us. That's our truth. That's our promise. That is, in effect, the essence of what the Course in Miracles wants us to see and know and operate from in our life on an ongoing basis. So to wrap these up, you see the two we've just described. The higher level, which is the absolute or the knowledge of unity, that's always within you, always has been, always will be. The question is are we aware of it? And below is the relative by unity, or the level of perception, what our thoughts are that are producing the world that I see. Our role in both teachings is to bring us upward, to be reliant on, to know that absolute, that knowledge is always available to us, always the answer that we ultimately want. The answer that brings us love, brings us connection, relationship, brings us grace and happiness. So going back to that story about the Cherokee boy, where do you think his thinking was when the grandfather was talking about the two wolves? Where were the two wolves? Can you see the loving wolf the one caring being in the absolute. And then the angry one, the upset one, the fearful one in the realm of perception, the relative state. So I have a question for you now. And do you know what the third principle is within unity? I know many of you have to have gotten that through school or through your SEE classes. What is the third principle?
What do you think about it?
Human beings create their experiences by the activity of their thinking. Everything in the manifest realm has its beginning in thought. Is anybody surprised to hear that?
No.
I didn't think so. Okay. They also say that the laws of mind action will bring to pass what man believes and what expects. This is what has been happening throughout our lives. Our beliefs, our ideas, our projections here have been unfolding, have been seen in the world. That's what we expect to see, and that's what we see, whether we like it or not. Without any correction, that's the way we go about living, isn't it? Well, we have an opportunity to make that change. So, the Course in Miracles, to that same point, tells us that whatever thought that you accept into your mind has reality for you. It is your acceptance of it that makes it real, at least for you. Maybe there'll be some agreement with others, but on an ongoing basis, it's all focused on what we have, what our thinking is, on our own. What you project or extend from your mind is real to you. This is the immutable law of the mind in this world, as well as in the kingdom. So this is saying one who has fully attained the Christ, the oneness with God, they recognize that their thoughts are producing the magnificent nature of life that they are seeing. They are seeing only what is coming from their mind, which in their case would be love, would be wholeness, would be celebration and joy. Would look out here and just see complete love and acceptance and compassion of everyone here. How do we go about these? Within unity, the message is through the use of affirmative prayer. To recognize what thoughts, what beliefs that we have that have taken us the wrong direction, and to replace them with a message, with an affirmative prayer, an affirmative statement that takes us where we want to go. The Course in Miracles speaks about this. It says that the central point is that of forgiveness. Forgiveness is about the changing of our own thoughts and healing our mind and finding a higher consciousness. So again, in both instances, we are speaking of moving to a higher state of awareness and releasing what we need to, denying any mistaken thought. Any thought that is not bringing us the peace, the love, the happiness that we were created to always have. Both are taking us in the same direction. And then they both speak of a common thread. What is it that is bringing about the ability to have these positive ideas? Let me ask you a question. Can you recall those experiences, those times in your life when an answer came through for you that was inspirational, that just lit you up, and it wasn't one that you thought through, that you figured out, but instead the answer was just there? Can you remember those? Maybe it happened through prayer. Maybe it happened in childhood. Think of the kids in Halloween. Maybe they have a different experience of the night than what they thought it was going to be. But what sort of inspiration comes through? That is, in effect, what we're speaking of as far as the opportunity that's coming to us. And it's not coming through our thinking. Instead, it's coming from who we truly are as we were created. That's our gift. That's our opportunity. In both of these, this is an instance of these affirmations coming through and uplifting us, or forgiving a mistaken belief that opens the doorway for me to see a different answer. So I want to share, I have a personal share that I'd like to offer along these lines. And this, it ties into my service here at Unity of Carlsbad. As I mentioned, I was offering that course there, the Course in Miracles, for about a year and a half. And I showed up one day in 2006 to announce to the group that I had just been accepted to ministry school at Unity. And I was higher than a kite. And everybody who was here in that group joined me in celebrating that during the class that night. And then when I left, I was driving home, still in that great space, really excited, really happy about it. And I heard a voice come in and say, "What about your health?" And truth be told, I really hadn't been doing much about taking care of my physical health during that time. But I heard a thought then that said, well, just go ahead and do what you're going to do. Go as far as you can get. And if it ends, it ends. All right? When I heard that thought, I said, wait a minute. Where did that come from? What was that? Instantly, I denied that. I let it go. I released that thought and I said, I am here to become a minister. My body, my mind will take care of what is needed. When I said that, I felt this wave of energy go through my body. I thought that was that. Well, about 10 days later, I was with a friend of mine, a cardiologist who was working at Scripps La Jolla Hospital. I was telling her, I'm just kind of curious about my health because I haven't been doing much with it. So she took me in to the hospital one morning, early one Monday morning, and she ran a bunch of tests on me. And we talked for a while, and when the tests came back and they were clear and we could begin talking about them, okay, she showed up on a computer screen a picture of a heart, and it had all sorts of white calcium deposits all around it. And she was saying, so this is what a heart looks like normally with somebody around your age. That calcium, of course, is what can lead to the heart diseases, the heart problems, okay? Then she said, let's look at your heart. She brought up the screen. There wasn't any calcium around my heart. None. I'm getting goosebumps now remembering that experience. Okay? And my blessed friend, I watched her shift in a moment. She went from this friendly talking that we had been having, she went clinical on me. She said, well, as I see this, the chances of you having any heart problems in the next several years is less than 3%. And that was it, and that's how it has been since then. So, what I see, what happened that given night, all right, was a miracle healing occur? Did that occur through my body? Or was it just a correction in my beliefs? A correction in my belief about what was so for me. Whatever the case, I didn't care. What mattered is that I had the health, I had what I needed to have going forward. My guess is that you have had those experiences as well, in whatever form they may be. Many have had many others, but just a couple of examples there. So I just want to go back and give you a brief summary of what we've covered. Oh, whoops. We didn't go over these. This is the message on the Holy Spirit, but I also recognize I've gone over. Summary, the non-duality, that we have never been separate from God. We only thought we were. Welcome home. The divine mind is the absolute. It's the knowledge of God. Regardless of what label we give on it, it is our eternal connection with God. The human consciousness is often wrapped up in the relative and the perception that leads to us thinking on our own and coming up with the hit and miss results that we have along the way. But the Holy Spirit, the presence, is always with us, available to give us a new inspiration, a new insight of our truth. Our thinking creates our view of our reality. We touched on that. And the corrections that we've pointed out, that of the affirmative prayer process from Unity, or that of the role of forgiveness within A Course in Miracles. So, we have that. Now, I just want to touch base briefly. Back at the table there, I've got all my inventory of my copies of the book, Unity and A Course in Miracles. That's 2 of them. We had ordered some, but through a mishap, we didn't get them in time to have them here. But I've got those 2 books available. You can also buy them through Amazon online. That is, and when doing that, you can use the Amazon Smile function that serves the church here. So I have a sign-up sheet there. If you would like one, I've got a bunch of copies coming in. If you would like one, let me know. And also, if you'd be interested, I have a 5-week class that goes over this material more in depth, speaking about Unity and A Course in Miracles in more detail than what I've covered today. If you'd be interested in that, please add your name to the list. Do all this while you're coming by to pick up your treat for the day, all right? So thanks for being here. Thank you.